C'est chez moi, c'est l'arme de crocodile.
Hey, so it's 2020 and the Razer DeathAdder Elite came out 4 years ago, but for the proper price of sometimes 40, sometimes 30, sometimes 25 euros, is the DeathAdder Elite still a noteworthy mouse to consider in 2020, or are you better off spending your money buying something more recent, more modern, with better features? Is the difference really that noticeable? That's pretty much the purpose of this video, and I'm gonna try to make it short and sweet and straight to the point. For the past 3 years, I've been using the Razer DeathAdder Elite as my mouse of choice, and I still remember when I purchased the original DeathAdder back in 2007, 2008. I was 12, I didn't have any money to spend on tech, and the Razer DeathAdder, the original one, was the first technology related purchase that I've ever made to use with my Pentium 4 with 512 megabytes of RAM and a trashy ATI graphics card to play Counter-Strike Source. And it really stepped up my game back then for sure. But these days you are spoiled with choice when it comes to gaming mouse. You can look at the new Viper wires or wireless version. Logitech has a bunch of great mouse, from the G502 to the Logitech G Pro wireless to the 303. There are a bunch of great choices, and even newer brands like the glorious Model O and Model O minus. And if you want a bigger mouse, you can get the Model D. There are a bunch of offerings from Cooler Master and Extrafy. You are spoiled with choices these days. In my opinion, a gaming mouse should be 3 things. Number 1, it should be comfortable to use for long periods of time. Number 2, it should work flawlessly in all conditions that you play in, and it should work as pretty much an extension of your own arm and be as transparent as possible between your clicks and the action in game. And number 3, you have the looks. Looks are subjective. People prefer certain things to other things. A lot of RGB, not so much RGB. So looks is definitely an important thing when it comes to a gaming mouse. So let's look at the DeathAdder in these 3 categories, starting with the comfort. It is probably the most iconic shape in all gaming mouse history. Razer has sold more than 10 million of them, and it is famous for a reason. It is very comfortable for medium to larger hands. If you palm grip your mouse, if you tend to hold your mouse in more of a claw grip or a fingertip grip, it's not the most comfortable shape. And the weight doesn't really help, coming in at over 100 grams. So for palm and right hand, it is one of the most comfortable mouse in my opinion. Razer just recently launched the DeathAdder V2, which is pretty much just a lightweight version of the DeathAdder with an improved sensor, improved clicks, and improved coating on the outside for durability and to be less prone to just sweatiness. One important thing to consider with the weight is, not that long ago, gaming mouse companies were pushing added weights to mouse as an improvement and as a feature. I remember on the G502 you could add up to, I think, 8 1.5 gram weights to the bottom of the mouse. That made that thing incredibly heavy in my opinion, and that was supposed to be an improvement to your gaming control. These days, lightweight mouse are definitely more in vogue and are definitely preferred for their more agile and faster response times when it comes to just wiggling around on the mouse pad. So weight is important, but it's not everything. It's all personal preference. You can try different weights on different mice and prefer them for a bunch of different reasons. So don't focus too much on the fact that the DeathAdder is still 100 grams when comparing to a 70 gram mouse. You can definitely make both work. Now, 2 places where the DeathAdder definitely shows its age, it's a little bit on the mouse cord and on the mouse feet. Both things are greatly improved in more recent mice. Razer has a paracord type of cable. It's lighter weight, it's more flexible, less prone to being stuck when you're playing. But the cable is okay. It's not rubberized on the outside. Those were terrible. But it's definitely a downside of the mouse design. Then the mouse feet, they are Razer's more traditional feet. These days you can have PTFE feet that tend to glide much better on the mouse pad. I think if you were to replace anything on the DeathAdder Elite, I think it would be the feet. But one of the most important places in a mouse where the DeathAdder still definitely delivers, it's on the sensor. It's Razer's second best sensor, only bested by the one used on the Viper and the Basilisk these days. But it's still a great optical sensor. It's very accurate, it's very quick, it tracks your movement beautifully, and I think should be the last thing you look at when comparing Razer's entire lineup or when comparing it to Logitech's current offering or Glorious current offerings. The sensors are all pretty good. Just search for the mouse you're looking for and make sure the sensor is optical, and it is one of the recent ones, and they should be all be pretty comparable. All the buttons on the mouse have seemed to keep just working beautifully across the years. No misclicks, no double clicks. The scroll wheel is definitely the lowest point, I think, on the design. It tends to be sometimes a little squeaky, and some people have complained that if you use the DeathAdder Elite on more humid climates, the rubber grips on the side tend to come off. Never happened to me, but I definitely can see how that could happen. And all of that brings you to the most important thing if you are considering a DeathAdder Elite in 2020. Do not purchase it for 79 euros. Buy the Razer DeathAdder V2 if you want a Razer and a DeathAdder and you have 79 bucks to pay. But the beautiful thing about a mouse that came out in 2016 is you can find a lot of deals from retail shops, not necessarily directly from Razer, but I've seen the Razer DeathAdder Elite go for 20 bucks, 25, 30, and for that kind of money, I don't think that, for example, the Razer Basilisk Ultimate, it's 189 euros retail. The DeathAdder for 25 or that for 189, it's not even comparable. If you have infinite money, sure, go for the Basilisk or go for the Viper that is 20 bucks less than that, so it's 169. But the Razer DeathAdder Elite is still a very complete package if you find it for the right price, and that would be, I think, at most 30 bucks. But comparing it to the Razer DeathAdder V2, 79 bucks versus the DeathAdder Elite for 25, I think the Razer DeathAdder Elite is not a third of the mouse that the Razer DeathAdder V2 is. So I still think it's a mouse to be considered in the entire Razer ecosystem. If you want to look outside, there are a bunch of other options. Unfortunately, I haven't tried all of them, so I have tried this. So this is my take on the Razer DeathAdder Elite. If you have enjoyed this video, maybe consider leaving a like down there. That would be greatly appreciated. If you're looking for mice and you want my opinion on them, or if you want to just talk back and forth with me, you can talk in the comments, or you can send me a message on Twitter or something. I'll definitely be glad to help if I can. And yeah, that's been it. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, bye. Thank you.